Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be looking into a current affair topic presented to you by your faculty, Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be looking into today? Russia accuses USA of piracy in Caribbean. Now this is almost like the words piracy, Caribbean. This is sounding like your Pirates of Caribbean movie. What exactly is happening in the international relations? Now, if you're someone who likes to know about local news, national news, international news, subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy. We provide detailed analysis. Now, what exactly is happening in news? Russia has accused United States of doing piracy. On what exactly is Russia meaning by piracy? Your US has conducted a naval blockade for Venezuelan ships. For this, US blockade of Venezuela is what is termed as piracy by your Russia, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova. Now all this is happening in your Caribbean Sea area. So this is what they are meaning as you are conducting, Russia is accusing USA is conducting piracy in the Caribbean Sea. What exactly is Russia alleging is happening in your Caribbean Sea? Russia is telling USA is doing something that is equivalent to piracy, equivalent to banditry. Piracy or banditry means what? So now your ships will be going. You will suddenly stop, take their goods or seize their ships and not let them move forward. That is illegal, right? So that is called as piracy or banditry. But if it is done by an individual or individual group, okay. But if this is conducted by an entire state, here that entire state is USA. That is what Russia is telling. And what exactly is your USA doing? It is seizing the property, cargo and ships linked to your Venezuela. Now, look at this naval blockade means US ships will be blocking the waters. Okay. To be more specific, now look at this. This is USA. Can you see Venezuela here? Now this region, okay, this is Caribbean Sea. Now USA needs some reason to tell, I'll put all my ships here, I'll not allow Venezuelan ships to pass through. I will obstruct its shipping. Even if it tries to pass through, I will seize its ships. It has a reason to, that is, it has to come up with a reason to tell that I will not allow you further, or why am I putting a naval blockade? The reason USA has given is that we are blocking the entry of narcotics into our country. But in reality, if you see the narcotic entry here is limited through waterways, it is only through your airways that is large. Then why is USA putting a naval blockade here? That is to pressurize your Venezuela. Understanding? So this is the naval blockade that is happening, and this scenario is what your Russia is calling as piracy, banditry. And Russia is also claiming that Caribbean is witnessing something called as lawlessness. See, when here they are making references, or Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson is making references that the practices that USA is now following was followed once upon a time, which is now considered as obsolete, or something that should not be happening now is happening or returning. What are they referencing to? We can even bring in the aspect of your Cuban Missile Crisis. Understanding? Now, the war between, that is the naval blockade that is happening in your Caribbean Sea between your USA and Venezuela, it is not just your narcotic war. There is something much more deeper into this. What is that? Your US is trying to impose economic sanctions, maritime restrictions, curb Venezuela of its economic, okay? Why exactly it is doing? That is because of one main important thing. Pressurize Nicolas Maduro government. And even Donald Trump, US president, has even held on various occasions that your Nicolas Maduro must resign. Okay, Nicolas Maduro government has to be stopped. Why? Again, simple. They are pursuing anti-US policies for them. So, what does US want to do by imposing these sanctions? Affect your oil exports of Venezuela, threaten the partners, and also shipping routes are to be affected by Venezuela, because one of the main things is if you choke the economy, everything automatically gets shaken. So why this Caribbean Sea region is very important? First and foremost, it is a major global shipping lane. Venezuela, one of the richest minerals is your crude oil. And also Caribbean is important not just for the fact that it is an important global shipping lane, but also the fact of its core connectivity towards your US mainland and also your Latin America. In this image, if you see, from Venezuela onwards begins your Latin America. From here onwards is your USA. The proximity to Latin America, Venezuela and USA is a trifold factor. Now, first and foremost, what is your US planning to reduce the pressure on your Venezuela? That is, attack its energy sector, and second thing is increase its military footprint. How is it doing? By doing a naval blockade in your region of Caribbean Sea. So Russia is telling that first and foremost what USA is doing is not correct, it is lawlessness, and we will support Venezuelan sovereignty and Venezuelan national interest. And USA is being, according to your Russia, USA is single-handedly coercing Venezuela. So now your US, okay, when it does these kind of things, don't you think it is violative of maritime norms? At least from Russia's front, it is telling one single nation, how can it pressurize a country into not using something called as international waters? So here is where Donald Trump comes in, and Russia claims that, especially with US President being Donald Trump, we expected a more rational judgment and his pragmatism in such a way that the crisis could be and would be avoided. At least that is what we assumed, but it doesn't appear to do so. But if he changes his mind, we are keeping our doors open to the dialogue. Understanding? And if you see from international perspective, according to UN clause, they have defined piracy as illegal acts of violence for private ends on high seas. Now we are going to call something as piracy fine, but now what will you call a state imposed blockade? That becomes the most important question. So what we see now here is a classic dilemma between sovereignty and sanctions. US uses sanctions as policy tools. This is very much visible in how we are seeing with respect to Russia-Ukraine war, your CATSA, how your Russia is now put under CATSA, and also all the trading members of Russia, that is for example India, are also put under the pressure. Understanding? So sanctions is a very favorite tool of your USA. But what Russia views this is that it is a violation of sovereignty of your Venezuela. And this brings us the question of, is it the rule-based order or the power-based order that is happening in the international relations right now? So what is the message that is coming out to us with the naval blockade that your US is attempting in the Caribbean Sea? Simple. Project US. See, first and foremost, Russia is wanting to see US is a disruptive force, but US wants to change the narrative as US is the protective force of the region. Understanding? And Russia is wanting to be defending or projecting itself as the defender of international law, whereas the same thing is trying to be done by USA. At least US wants to project itself as the defender of international law and order, and it claims that it is necessary to do what it is doing now to your Venezuela. Russia is again reaffirming to one simple thing. We are no longer in a bipolar world, we are rather in a multipolar world. So it is reinforcing the same stake. Now if you see, your US-Russia rivalry is expanding. Now not just in your Russia-Ukraine but also in your Venezuelan crisis. Now your Latin American countries are being used as the new geopolitical area of tension. If you see from India's perspective, what India views, first and foremost, India doesn't just pick sides. It goes for strategic autonomy, following and abiding of international law, rules, and also it emphasizes on, first and foremost thing is sovereignty and for freedom of navigation. These are the things that India sides with. Now, in the present situation, the Venezuelan crisis has to be dealt in a very more of a lighter manner compared to how your Russia and USA are dealing with all the other aspects of your Russia-Ukraine crisis. We cannot allow for another region to be created for the escalation zones, that is your Latin American zones. Understanding? With this, we come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it along with your friends. Thank you.